Box Office Brews, the monthly review channel where we talk about all the most anticipated movies of the month. I'm Alex.
Hi, I'm Logan.
And this month we're going to talk about July. I think we got a lot of...
Hold on, I got something to say really quick. So we've been doing this for a while, and every single month we introduce this show and we say the most anticipated, we're going to talk about the most anticipated films of the month, the most anticipated movies of the month.
Yeah, box office.
I have a big problem with that this month because we almost accidentally chose 3 movies that are all based off of a comic book of some sort. They're all based off of a graphic novel.
Isn't that a good thing? I don't know.
No, because my whole thing is like, why aren't there more original films? So I feel like we've had such a trend of superhero movies and book adaptation movies that I'm starting a new show right now. I'm hijacking this. I'm gonna start a show called Book Store Brews, starring us two. And right now, we're doing that this month.
You didn't discuss this with me at all. Wait, hold on.
Hi, welcome to Book Store Brews with Logan and Alex. This month, we're going to talk about 3 books that have film adaptations. Ooh-wee, I'm super excited. The first book we're going to talk about today is the Valerian comic series, specifically the issue Ambassador of the Shadows, because...
Wait, I thought the movie was called...
Right, isn't that strange?
Planet, Thousand Planets, City thing.
The movie is called Valerian and the City of Thousand Planets, but Luc Besson, despite the fact that there is a Valerian issue called Empire of the Thousand Planets, decided to base the story off of Ambassador of the Shadows.
Alright, whatever.
It's a neat little piece of comic book history that we're gonna delve into a little bit later. Next book, the one that we didn't know about, the book that Atomic Blonde is based off of, The Coldest City, by Anthony Johnston, not Anthony, and illustrated by Sam Hart. Yeah, this was actually a graphic novel, and I don't think anybody knew. I don't even know if the author knew.
No, and I think it's funny because I mean the movie was advertised as this 80s like neon awesomeness,
right?
And if you open up this book, there's black and white in there.
It's very, very bleak. So yeah, it turns out Atomic Blonde's based off of a graphic novel.
So we're gonna get into that. Have you read all these?
I have read all of them.
That out of my league this time, guys. Why am I on a show called Bookstore Brews?
And of course, we all know the third franchise we're gonna talk about.
This was based off another movie, right?
Spiderman.
Yeah. It was based on the previous movie series, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Is Spider-Man a comic book?
Surprise to everybody.
What?
It's a comic book. I don't actually own any Spider-Man comics, and Spider-Man Homecoming was not based off of a specific issue of Spider-Man.
No, it is essentially a cinematic band-aid to repair the damage that Sony has done.
I took matters into my own hands, and I made my own. So my version is called Sticky Boy Dance Party because I was really afraid
fidget spinner
that so he's a boy. He's very young. Spider-Man's like 15 years old. He should have fidget spinners, I think.
Point. Like a lot of them.
I didn't want to name it actually Spider-Man because I was afraid if I made this too good, then a Marvel executive might wake up in a cold sweat and be like, there's a clever boy on YouTube that I need to sue immediately. So that's everything we're going to talk about here on Bookstore Brews, because fuck original movies, am I right?
Apparently Hollywood agrees with you. Come on!
Fuck this movie. Fuck this movie.
Come on! Are you shitting me?
This is the fucking worst movie. I like Wonder Woman better than this. This is the worst fucking Marvel movie I've seen in so long. I hated this so fucking much.
I cannot disagree with you more. Are you
so
shitting me?
Much.
This is probably one of the, but this movie was almost perfect.
This was garbage.
This was perfect.
Absolutely. Okay.
It was everything it needed to be. I cannot believe.
No, it was nothing.
You're the
it was
only
nothing.
person who didn't enjoy it.
What is everything it needed to be? Absolutely nothing. It was garbage.
It was fun, and it focused on the character. All right.
You want to hear my
reel it in.
Hot take alert right off the gate? This movie was not written by a human. This was written by an algorithm on a computer in the basement of Marvel Studios, where they took a shitty John Hughes movie and mashed it up with a shittier superhero movie, and they shat this thing out to make it 2.5 fucking hours long of literally nothing happening. No stakes, no character, no, just no enjoyment. It was so banal, so empty. I was so just dead bored by the end of the movie and so glad when it was over.
Wow, I was not prepared for this.
It
I
was
thought we were just
really
going to
bad.
gush about
No.
this. Like, I thought even you would get a hit out of this.
This was not a good movie. I'm sorry. It was bad. It was bad. This was just, in all accounts, it's not even passable in my opinion. This is a passable Marvel movie, meaning it made $1 billion.
This is going to be an interesting segment then. This is the first time we disagreed this like vehemently, I think.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because I cannot disagree with you more. I feel like we've always said that the toughest thing is praising the movies we like. I love this movie. I think what made it great for me was just again, I get this movie's personal. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching the character grow. First of all, I like that there's no origin story right out the gate. We pick up right from Civil War. So there is something that's fun and unique to the idea of just jumping back into the universe that's been created. Now I know you're not a big fan of the universe. I enjoy it a lot. I think that they've done a great job to create something that I enjoy seeing with the characters kind of interacting in and out of the universe. So like you can go in with the knowledge of it and it only benefits you, but even without the knowledge of it, they do a really great job of kind of filling you in of what's going on. There's no origin story. We're back with Peter Parker. This is the first time that Peter Parker, I feel like he is a nerd again. Like, I feel like it's been hard to have the whole bully nerd thing going on in a lot of movies lately. Like Andrew Garfield's version failed miserably. I didn't feel bad for him. I didn't feel like he suffered in any way. He wasn't weird or nerdy. He was a cool kid with a skateboard and stuff. Peter is a nerd. He gets picked on. And you definitely feel that he's an outcast. And you definitely feel the fact that he's green. Like, and that's really one of the things the movie focuses on, the fact that he is young and inexperienced, but like every teenager, he believes he's ready for more. So I just feel like that premise alone, that setup is great. Now, I mean, is it childish at times? Absolutely it is. But again, I think that worked to a movie's advantage because you have to remind yourself that this is a 15-year-old hero. And it's ironic when you see Tony Stark coming in, trying to be his mentor. This is a guy who we didn't give any credit to back when he started his franchise because he was a fucking womanizing alcoholic. So and now he's the voice of reason. He's our authority, and we've got a new kid who we watch struggle. The bottom line, just the one thing I want to get out there, like this movie was more about Spider-Man than it was about Spider-Man fighting villains.
Hard
and I think
disagree.
That's
I'm
what
gonna
was
hit the
important
button
about this movie.
I'm gonna hit the hard disagree button. This movie was not for Spider-Man fans. This movie was for Avengers fans who needed a loose end, who needed to spend $12 to nut at another superhero movie in lieu of in waiting for Thor and in waiting for Avengers. This had nothing to do with Spider-Man. He was in the movie, sure, but in terms of being like an actual superhero movie, we've seen this movie before. In terms of being a coming of age story, we've seen this movie before. The movie sets it up to being an Avengers fan movie right from the beginning when you start in Captain America: Civil War. It relies on the audience to know a lot of things specifically about the Avengers universe. And like maybe there are people out there who don't enjoy Avengers but like the individual movies. This movie's not for them. This movie does nothing to satisfy the individual Spider-Man fan. Maybe it does. I mean, that's a broad statement.
I don't know. He's like, yeah,
that's why we're here. We're here to make bold statements like that.
I definitely think that you could watch this without having any reference to the other movies, because
then why have those why was the first frame of the movie a drawing of the ending of one of the Avengers movies? It was like, why make it so just like enveloped? Like, I get that it's the cinematic universe, but this is the first Marvel Spider-Man movie. Like, I was really hoping that they would, just aim for the fences on this one in terms of making this like such an original standalone Spider-Man movie, and instead they made like a high school bullshit, like just again a story we've seen before.
Let's focus on that then, because I'm not gonna say this was an original story by any means. A lot of the tropes used here are commonly used tropes, but that you can say that about a lot of movies that we watch. You know what I mean? I don't think like superhero movies in general pull off of tropes that rely on them being predictable almost.
But that doesn't make them a good movie.
No,
like,
but it doesn't make them a bad movie.
I'll just go through the steps. So like, beginning of the movie, like the villain, all I know, Michael Keaton, he's upset because he can't do his job, and he basically gets laid off. So it's like, that's why
relatable. That's a relatable villain story.
But it's so throwaway. Like, I don't have a job. Oh no, I hate these people.
But I think that was a great tie-in to talking about think about it. We've got the little guy superhero and the little guy villains. People who are affected by what happened in the other movies. Like, it's almost like It's everything that everyone complains about on the internet. You're like, oh, what about the thousands of millions of dollars of damage done to the city of New York? Who cleans that shit up? When does that happen? We got to see our villain and his construction crew basically cleaning up after the first Avengers fight. I thought that was awesome. It's about accountability for the superheroes, and the damage, the ripple effect of the damage that they've done, and it created someone like the Vulture.
That's pretty fair. I see what you're saying about the whole like city destruction thing. I just wish they brought it home a little bit more, because I feel like they knew the audience was like, well, now that they know he's angry, we can just go and just jerk off to Spider-Man for the next 40 minutes of him just doing nothing in New York, and like him obsessed with Tony Stark, and him just being, oh, I'm an excitable teenager, and like again, like the thing that really bogged this down for me was all of the high school bullshit that we've seen before. The whole like, oh, I have a nerdy friend and we're building a Star Wars figurine, and there's my crush, and like time slows down when I see her and I'm not comprehending what my friend is saying, and like, oh, she has no personality.
It was very
we know her name, but that's about it. Like, we don't care about her aside from Peter caring about her, and just again, we've seen those elements before, and it carries it for the whole movie. It's like 2 hours of John Hughes.
They do. He keeps doing the trope where he's like, I want to be a part of this life, and then he has to leave and be Spider-Man, and then you're like, well, they did that shit in the very first series, the Sam Raimi series, which I liked a lot. I love the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
I did too. The last Spider-Man movie I enjoyed was Spider-Man 2. That was a
great movie. That was an awesome movie. I will give you this. It was almost a little too positive. It like everything ended up like, it was tough for him. Things were rough, but everything always kind of worked out for him. Well, like, it was like he never really felt tortured. Tobey Maguire was tortured. He was, we got to see him gutted over the things that he did to sacrifice to be Spider-Man. Yeah. So I wish maybe this had a little bit more of that. This was a little too lighthearted. I'll give you that.
That was a big problem that I had, was because logically the next step after the high school bullshit is how does he balance these two lifestyles that he has? How does he balance being Peter Parker and Spider-Man? And this movie's solution is he just does, and it doesn't matter. He'll miss meetings, he'll miss hanging out with friends, and it just like, he's just like, oh, I'm sorry I did that thing, and the movie just rolls it over. It's just like, oh, that didn't matter. Because that's what I did enjoy about the Sam Raimi ones, was like his constant struggle of like, I need to be a good son or a good nephew, and I need to be a good boyfriend, or whatever, a good friend.
Conflict. That's the thing about Spider-Man's conflict doesn't come from his villains, because honestly his villains aren't that cool.
Yeah,
Spider-Man's conflict comes from him being Spider-Man,
and they don't. I feel like they don't capitalize.
I feel like they brought it up in this movie, and I guess maybe it was enough for me to be okay with it. But yes, I agree. Like we didn't get to see him suffer, I guess, too much.
He was just constantly worried. He's like, my mom can't find out I'm Spider-Man, or else she won't let me do it anymore. And like, that's his worry. But it never really goes beyond that. It never goes to a point where he is forced to be Spider-Man around the people he loves, except for the one moment in DC. But even that, it's like, it's so shrouded in like, in just non-consequential elements.
What I thought was funny about that one is like, it's a good thing he's there to save his friends, but he's also the reason they got in trouble.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, you fucking gave your friend that rock that blew up, man. Like, I get what you're saying. I really can't disagree with you.
I think
it missed a lot of the things that would have made it more heavy-handed.
What I think this movie really tries to shove down your throat too, again, is the whole just the universe. It really wants you to remind you, because he wants to be an Avenger. That's kind of his motivation in the beginning of this movie. So they set that up, and then they keep, like, the trailers did this too. The trailers really made you think that Tony Stark was going to be in this for way longer than he was. He was in
I don't know. Well, maybe because I know better. I knew he wasn't going to be.
Well, exactly, but
because I didn't want him to be, because the movie's supposed to be.
He shouldn't have been in it at all. He should not have been in this movie, because I think that really dumbed things down.
Here's the dilemma that you run into, and this is, I'm not saying this is, how do you fix this? I don't know, because this is a new problem to have. This is the first really big successful movie universe. So it's like, to not call it out to it is also to avoid something that's out. We're all like, well, we know they're there. He's in New York. Avengers Tower is right there. Like, to not call out to that is purposeful.
Maybe this is boiling down to, this is just a problem with the Marvel Universe now.
Perhaps.
Is that, like, if you're not invested, these movies aren't for you. They're just not. Like, you... And it's not that it won't make sense if you haven't seen those movies, but it just seems so, like, inconsequential.
No, you know,
like,
that's a good point.
Why show all these videos of Captain America giving PSAs at the school and all that bullshit?
See, and you didn't like it. Like, that's... The fans, we ate that shit up.
Exactly, it's fan fodder, dude. It's fan fodder, and that's all it's there for.
You have an interesting perspective. because we're forcing you to go see these movies that you don't want to go to. So maybe you're right, because I would argue that nobody's going to see this that isn't invested in the Marvel fucking movies.
So it boils down to a lot of times people will come back from superhero movies and they'll say like, oh, this movie did something really cool for a superhero movie. Which is like, I love that little, because like that still makes it not a good movie,
well,
but it makes it a good superhero movie.
That's true.
So
and
it's
then
like,
that reminds me of like Logan, which is why that set itself apart.
That was good
because
movie,
we said, oh, this is a movie.
It's just a movie.
It's not a superhero movie. It's true.
So that's where you're seeing this genre start to struggle because it's starting to devolve. There's been so many where it's like, how do they even make a standalone one anymore without introducing a new character? This really is a stepping stone for the next Avengers movie. It's just a stepping stone towards more superhero movies. That's all a giant, big old money pile that people can just jump into and swim around in before the next Thor Ragnarok, I guess, comes out. And it really didn't feel like anything in terms of depth more than that. At least put some effort into the screenplay. Like, I don't know if this is a spoiler. I don't think it's a spoiler, but so Spider-Man doesn't have full control over his suit. Again, a trope we've seen so many times before, not having full control over their powers. So instead of him having like a training montage, he gets locked in a fucking cabinet, and that's how he learns about his suit, which is the most boring way. Well, not a cabinet. He gets locked in like a storage facility in this movie, and that he just spends the time learning about his suit, which I thought was just like such a dumb. That's the best you could really come up with. Like you couldn't come up with something a bit more active. Something where it was like there was something at stake. Actually,
well, that's it was there was a scene I feel like where he did go after the Vulture after he unlocked his suit and completely got his ass kicked because he was using the wrong web.
Well, that's how he got locked in the room.
And that's how he got in the he got into the truck.
There should have been stronger consequences.
Well, my problem with that isn't necessarily I don't mind him being locked and figuring out his powers there because because the whole time I kept thinking you're gonna be late for the decathlon. You're gonna be late for the decathlon. You're gonna be late for the decathlon.
He's late for this.
I had tension for that, but I'll agree with you by saying that him being late had no consequences at all.
He misses the decathlon.
He misses the decathlon completely.
His team wins, and nobody cares.
And then they're like, well, thanks for coming. Like, no one was like, fuck you, Peter.
Exactly.
You fucking asshole.
So if we're going to talk about consequences, I think we should delve into spoilers now.
Yeah, well, okay, so speaking of spoilers, I want to read your comic book.
Yeah, so we can finish Sticky Boy. We can keep running through it if you want to.
Yeah, well, no, because,
right.
show me,
So this is my comic book based off of Spider-Man Homecoming. Of course, it's my store brand version, Sticky Boy Dance Party.
So there are spoilers in this book?
There are spoilers in this book. There are spoilers.
Spoilers. That's a spoiler alarm.
So I
mean,
we can set up the story. This is Michael Keaton as Vulture. I put him on a Paper Mario character from a video game that I really enjoy, and he's saying, "Wow, fuck Tony Stark," because in my version it's rated R because like the best superhero movies are rated R apparently. So I wanted it to be a bit more visceral.
Absolutely. You're bringing it to your level.
Yeah.
I like your Photoshop skills.
Yeah, thank you. I did this in MS Paint, actually. Next element. Meanwhile, Iron Man is giving Spider-Man his suit, and again, I think Iron Man should swear. So he says, "Here's your suit, you little shit," and Spider-Man just says, "I love you."
Which is beautiful.
Yeah, thank you very much. In fact, you can see how I
love
cropped
how
out his head. Yeah, so he's a boy. He's 15. He should have fidget spinners. I think that's a plot. So
you're right.
The story continues. So 2 hours of this bullshit. 2 hours of high school bullshit with Hannibal Buress. 2 hours later, so the movie ends, and this is how it ends. Michael Keaton, he says, "Ah, fuck, I blew myself up." In the end, and that's how it ends. So spoilers. Spider-Man really, I guess he has a lot of agency in getting Michael Keaton to blow himself up. But Michael Keaton blows himself up. Oh, and I guess you also find out that Liz, Spider-Man's crush, is
which, by the way,
Vulture's
yeah,
daughter.
let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I remember actually physically being like, oh shit, I could not have seen that coming. That was really cool.
My reaction wasn't like, wow, I was surprised. I was like, of course he is. I just thought it was all like, I think
by that point you were ready to leave the film.
I just think they thought of that. They thought of that twist first. I think that's how this movie was written. They were like, what if his crush is the Vulture's daughter? And they were like, how do we get there? Let's make her have no personality. Let's have no consequences on the way there, so she still loves him. And then he gets to leave the dance anyway, and she's still pretty fine with that. And then things ensue, and she has to leave, and we're not really crushed by that at all. Like, we don't feel anything with the fact that they're separated.
No, we don't. Well, because I think you bring up, she was She could have been a cardboard cutout the whole movie.
Exactly.
And nothing
Yeah.
would have been different. Like
Yeah.
somebody could have just there's like a grip is like carrying her across.
Some just like fat bearded guy with like a Slayer t-shirt. He's
like eating a donut. Like where's Liz? Like and everyone's like he's like, oh, she's beautiful.
It would have
she worn that outfit before?
It would have done the exact same job. Yeah. That's that. Like I said in the beginning, my initial hot take is shitty John Hughes movie, shitty superhero movie. Mash them together, and you get Spider-Man: Homecoming. It's really not more, and it's way too long, man. Stop making these movies more than 2 hours long.
Again, I didn't notice. I enjoyed all of it. I agree with the problems with it as far as how to make a movie. Because basically, what we're arguing here isn't necessarily like, is this movie for you? It was for you. It was unwatchable. But is it fun? Absolutely, it's fun. If you're a fan of the fucking franchise, if you're a fan of Marvel movies, you're gonna love this.
But at the same time, there are better Marvel movies than this that this movie expects you to have seen. That's what's so fucking aggravating about this is they're like, we want to make billions. How do we do that quick? Algorithm script, enter, print the screenplay.
That was intense. That was more intense than I expected it to be.
That was intense.
That was Sticky Boy.
Yeah, this was.
So I can't wait to hear what you have to say about our next movie.
Our next movie,
which was we were both very excited about.
Yeah.
Highly anticipated. We're a big fan
excited.
of Luc Besson, although when I think about it, and I'm gonna, I think we're fans of The Fifth Element.
Exactly right.
And so let's talk about Valerian.
Let's talk about Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets. Is that right?
I hate that name.
Man, I tell you, I really wanted to enjoy this movie because
get in the goddamn
I read the books originally.
and it goes all the way down.
I was a pretty big
to the
fan of the
ship,
comic
and then,
books, like the art style was interesting.
Nothing they say fucking
bad
actually matters
tension,
with the
no
character
tension
development.
at
I mean, they
all.
just say everything they mean.
Like,
There's
sure,
nothing-
the world building
There's no
was
show
okay,
don't tell. I
but,
mean,
like,
it's just
other than
100%.
that,
It's like
it's just
absolutely. Hold on. Stop. Shut the fuck up. What?
How do we start this actual review? I feel like I have to just be honest at the very beginning and say like this movie was so hard to digest that it's hard to come to a final point to define where it fails and why. You can pick out scenes, but as a whole audiovisual experience, it's like a jawbreaker of a movie.
This movie, I wrote down I had never been bored by so much.
Yes, that's actually a really great way to sum it up. Yeah.
They give you so much stuff. It's like this is a cake that only made of icing.
yeah.
And somewhere in there's a morsel, but it's lost. The thing to walk away with is that this doesn't tell a story. It tells a world, an environment.
Yes.
But even the environment isn't rewarding enough to walk away with anything of any substance or grit.
Yeah,
There's nothing to put between your teeth. And I don't want to keep going back to these metaphors, but like this was the most empty noise. It was physically assaulting. Yeah, like it was an assault on the senses. Nothing ever stopped. Bottom line, this movie. If you break this down to its substantial base plot, it's actually very, very simple and very boring. This movie basically takes you point A to point B, point C, point D, and so like the movie isn't about the points; it's how you got there, and it just becomes a series of scenes to do cool sci-fi things.
Yes, and I will agree. And what you're saying is it's really interesting to hear the way you talk about this because I read the comic issue, the specific Valerian issue that this movie is based on, and I really enjoyed that issue. It's called Ambassador of the Shadows, and for the most part, this movie is actually very true.
That makes way more sense of a title, by the way.
Ambassador of the Shadows, exactly.
To the actual side of the movie.
City of 1,000 Planets.
City of 1,000 Planets. First of all, what does that mean? Like I get what they're saying, but like just because you have a fucking city with like citizens from all over the universe, you can't just say that's 1,000 planets. Like we don't say America, country of 1,000 countries.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a sci-fi like jerk off term. It's a masturbatory sci-fi title. Where do we start?
Let's start with the characters.
Movie starts.
Let's start with the characters because the movie starts with the characters.
Yeah.
Now, okay. Poor Dane DeHaan.
Oh my god, dude, he's 0 for 2 on our show. I hate to be that guy that's like, oh, compared to the book. It's weird that they picked this story, the Ambassador of the Shadows, to adapt into a movie, because the book version is Laureline's story. Valerian gets captured at the beginning of the story, and Laureline carries the entire thing. So that means, for the book's sake, it's actually a bit of a swap. Usually Valerian and Laureline are always working together, but in this one story, it's like, this is the exception.
This is her story.
This is the moment where we get to see her really develop. This movie fucks that up so much, because it's like, why pick such a specific story like that to develop into a movie?
Well, and not knowing the story, this movie throws her under the bus so constantly. Valerian's character, okay, they set his character up right away, which, by the way, I want to say, like, this movie does nothing for show don't tell. It basically says, in the first 5 minutes of the movie, they literally say out loud every character trait about Valerian. He's a player. In fact, they call it the playlist.
Yeah, his playlist.
And they put it up on the screen
girls that he
to
slept
say,
with.
hey, by the way, he's a really big player. He's fucked all these women.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, look at him. You have to be told that.
Right.
Because I'm not gonna think that. I'm sorry, Dane DeHaan, I think he's got, like, I've described him as, he looks like a 12-year-old who hasn't slept in 12 years. And I just think that he's not your traditional handsome guy, like, Bond character.
Why was he cast in this movie?
So you're like, at least maybe convince me that he's this player. But no, it doesn't matter. We'll just say it out loud. It just feels fake. Because you look at them. Dane DeHaan, I don't know how tall he actually is. He just seems like, when he puts that fucking suit on, he just looks like a kid trying on an outfit, like a costume.
He's like Buzz Lightyear.
He's exactly. Exactly. He does look like... And so... Everything about his character is just literally told to us. It's spewed out to us.
Especially the fact that he really wants to marry Laureline. Don't forget that. He really wants to marry Laureline.
He says it right away, and I'm thinking, he's kidding. This is his character. It's just, he likes to joke with her about how he wants to marry her, even though he actually does. He's like, he just plays it off because she doesn't believe him. Their chemistry did not exist.
No.
They're supposed to be
non-existent.
like these. Like, I didn't even believe they were good partners. Let alone like, oh, there's a romantic tension there. You're like, everything that they've said to each other was said out loud. Nothing was shown. Nothing was visual. It was all
said out loud and at the same time.
This was like a teenage movie. Where do you ever see the Divergent movie series or whatever?
God, no.
I only watched the first one, and it was the same type of thing where it's very like, this seems oddly simple for such a really interesting concept. Oh, it's made for teenagers. Sure, and that's what this felt like. This was another teen movie where you're like, if the worst thing in your life to happen on any given day is that the girl you like didn't look at you, and you're gonna write about it in your live journal. I'm 32. Then that's going to be heavy drama for you. But if you're a person who has like a real life and stuff, there's nothing to you. Their dialogue was the most flat and 2D, just like their characters were.
Yeah, it was so blatant.
So okay,
and I honestly I think that the comic books are a little bit to blame for that, because the comic books are nothing special in themselves. The comic books are amazing sci-fi stories. Like, when you read them, you're like, wow, I've never read something like this before, and that's why they're great. But they're also super campy in the way that the Legend of Zelda cartoon series is campy. Like, you almost imagine Valerian's voice like, whoa, hey, Laureline, that was a close one. Like, well, excuse me, princess. Like, you get that vibe.
That would work.
Because it would work because it's supposed to be fantastical.
Right.
This movie, I feel like we say this, but it takes itself seriously, which is a phrase we say a lot on this show. But it tries to be so edgy. It tries to be so, state of the art and current age in terms of like, how do you make a campy sci-fi in 2017 unapologetically? Which is, you can't. You just have to make a campy sci-fi.
Just be what you are.
Exactly.
Yeah, just fucking own up to it.
Just be a funny
It's
sci-fi.
totally fine.
Just be a campy sci-fi movie. Don't take yourself so seriously. I want to go back to the scene where Valerian has to rescue Laureline, which doesn't happen in the books.
That was the official moment I knew I wanted to leave the theater.
So Valerian, which you're not explained why he's going to this place, but he has to go to basically like a prostitute junction, like a pleasure zone.
It was called, I think it was called Paradise City.
Yeah.
And it was literally next to the troll zone. Who hates people.
Yeah.
It's right there. It's like he goes like, huh. Hey, look at that pleasure zone. You're like,
I didn't
what
even
the fuck?
Yeah. So he goes in, and it's a pleasure zone. And I'm pretty fucking sure, and I want to see if this is true or not. I think Valerian meets actual Jessica Rabbit in that scene.
In the comic?
No, in the movie.
In the movie, she was there.
Was that?
You're
okay.
right. That was definitely Jessica Rabbit because he goes. What is she? She says something.
She says like, "You're my hero."
That's it.
Yeah.
You're my hero, and she's like, "You got the wrong guy."
Okay. That's what I was gonna say. She was actually. Why was Jessica Rabbit?
Jessica Rabbit was a cameo in this movie. Why
the fuck was Jessica Rabbit?
Luc Besson has held on to that for a long time.
They might as well have put Howard the Duck in too, like while they're at it.
Actually, would have made more sense, probably.
They should have thrown in as many.
Yes, I'm glad you reminded me of that.
Why the fuck? Yeah, so Jessica Rabbit was there, and also Rihanna.
Okay, Rihanna.
Pump the fucking brakes, Luc Besson.
She's super talented and she's super beautiful. She also had no reason to be in this movie. In fact, that's the point.
Yeah.
They basically, she's a shape-shifting alien. He wants to get her to shapeshift to infiltrate this troll zone.
Because you can only be a weird-looking alien troll to get into the troll.
They'll just kill people right away.
Yeah.
And instead of him going in guns blazing, which up to this point in the movie he's done every single time, they're like, well, diplomatically, it would be bad for us. Yeah. Doesn't matter. He goes in there, plan fails, kills everyone anyway.
Yeah.
Like everyone.
Yes,
he kills the entire city of trolls.
He kills the king.
He kills the emperor, and they're like, oh, well, there goes the diplomacy. Yeah. Is that okay, I guess?
So Rihanna's name is Bubble, and she's on the cover of the poster, but has no, like, her character does not actually matter to the eventual end of the movie, which is garbage. Nope. So why put her on the cover? She literally
is. That's what I'm saying.
Why have her in the movie?
This was episode 7.
Why give her a really sad death scene? Like, why? There was like an emotional
You're like,
Bubble, no.
I was like, we barely got to know her.
Yeah.
I wanted to I want to talk about Luc Besson, okay? Mm-hmm. Everyone, we herald him. Every time he's going to do something, we're like, oh my god, he's the best. We loved The Fifth Element. Now, Fifth Element is one of my favorite movies of all time. In fact, prior to seeing this on this past week, The Fifth Element was playing at my local like Grindhouse theater, and I hadn't seen it admittedly in a couple of years because I watched it to death. Mm. You kind of see it in a different perspective, especially after doing the show. I'm kind of a little bit more analytical about the movies. Mm-hmm. His style of directing and writing hasn't changed all that much from what this is. It's not that this is like, oh, it's so different, so bad. He was so good before. He was so prolific. He wasn't. The movie was it still has a lot of distracting scenes, but the idea is that like Luke has a lot of like. It's about how to get from point A to point B, and they do that a lot in Fifth Element, where you're like, wait a minute, a lot of this is overly convoluted. My basic throwout being that like how to get Corbin Dallas to Planet Floston is a series of 3 separate plots that actually all intertwine, and if any of them actually talk to each other, he would have just done it. And instead it becomes this whole fucking mistaken identity thing, and people trying to kidnap him or take his identity, and none of it would have worked because actually everyone was going for the same goal. Again, this is very basic. I'm trying to summarize it quickly, but the idea is that like, I was like, why is this scene so blown out? This could have been solved in a couple pieces of dialogue and it would have been fine. That's what this movie is all day. I think the problem is that in Fifth Element, you took the time to get to know the characters a bit more.
I was about to say, I feel like the difference is it's a much more charming movie.
And it's charming. Yeah. We stop a lot, and we get to know Corbin Dallas, and we get to understand why Lulu is who she is. This movie doesn't stop for 2 seconds to get to know these characters.
You also have to consider the time period of The Fifth Element. Bruce Willis was very much a household name at the point because of Die Hard. Everybody loved Bruce Willis, and like he was very well cast in that role.
That's true. That's very true. So there's almost a point where you're like, is the formula of Fifth Element, was that a happy accident? Because his movies since then just haven't hit home.
Let's jump into the spoilers territory, because in terms of writing, it's hard to talk about this movie in terms of writing because it is all over the place. But one big,
it's a series of smaller plots.
Where it could have redeemed itself is in the unraveling of the story, because this story basically plays out, and the book plays out as a detective story more or less, because everyone's trying to figure out why there's all this classified information about the specific planet.
Okay.
Why there's a zone in Alpha that nobody's allowed into. And the unraveling of it is fucking stupid. The books have a similar twist to it. Essentially, in this movie, you find out that the seashell planet was destroyed due to a space battle, and a ship crashed.
Yes. For some reason, they went to a planet that had nothing to do with the space battle to fight the space battle.
Over it.
Was that in the book?
No, none of this happened in the book.
Okay, great.
So the commander who gets captured in the beginning of the movie,
which is Clive Owen, who has aged I think 30 years since we've last seen him.
Yeah.
We have a fat old Clive Owen in this movie.
I did not recognize
it. It took
him.
me a second. I'm like, is that fucking Shoot 'em Up? Like, what the hell?
Yep.
What happened?
I was gonna say that too. I was like, when did I last see him? It was Shoot 'em Up. Yeah. So basically, he accidentally commits genocide and doesn't want to answer to it. So the movie ends basically where Valerian and Laureline find out that Clive Owen's character accidentally commit genocide, and these aliens that have been quote unquote terrorizing Alpha basically just want their planet back.
Yeah, and they were just living in the center of the city
of Alpha
peacefully and just trying to build up their
so
resources.
Obviously, a good human would be like, let's help them get their planet back.
Right.
And Valerian's like, let's discuss this. And the emotional moment that we have is Laureline goes, this is why I don't want to marry you, because of X, Y, Z.
Yes.
And I was like, holy shit, you're bringing that up now.
Yes, we have to talk about that again.
Oh my god.
Like, we're in the middle of it. But first of all, that conversation alone, because I remember thinking the same thing. I'm like, wait a minute, you were on board about 5 minutes ago.
Right.
Why now are you going to almost side with the general?
It was forced. This arbitrary,
forced conflict.
Like, I won't marry you because you feel this. And I'm like, why does it have to come down to
marriage? Why do we have to, like, it's for teenagers.
Yeah.
Why does it about the crush?
Why
Did you not get my note that I folded up in English class?
Right.
Fuck, man.
But
Clive Owen was overly mean for no reason.
Yeah.
Because, like, everyone in there was like, we have the good sense to help these creatures. And he was like, no! I have to destroy them for my reputation. I'm like, dude, it's kind of out of the bag. Like, your career's over. Why are you fighting this? Like, you're just being an asshole for no reason. It was just really forced. I don't know. And, like...
so, essentially what it boils down to is that this movie is a series of disorganized scenes, and the only thing that holds it together is this very weak subplot of Valerian wanting to marry Laureline and the emotions behind that somehow carry to the end of the movie that involves actual genocide, which is the most absurd sentence I've ever said in my entire life.
If they had said that in the writers' room, you're like, maybe we should workshop this.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing?
It's Atomic Blonde!
Oh, shit.
Yes, I'm really glad. I know you probably have some strong opinions of this movie that I might not have, but
I do.
I really respected this movie. Yeah,
that's a good word. That's a good word to use.
Yeah,
I'll let you start off.
Especially having read,
what do you got?
Having read the graphic novel, The Coldest City, I really enjoyed this book. The art style wasn't really down my alley. It's very bleak. You can't really tell one character from the other, but it's a very good spy story. Just a very good short spy story that tells a really interesting cultural story about Berlin in 1989. And I love that. And this movie was extremely true to the graphic novel. The most true adaptation I've seen in a really long time.
Since like Sin City kind of thing?
Yeah, like it was so, like, down to very close details. It was very true. Obviously, they took creative liberties. They changed genders of some characters. They made everyone younger. And the creative liberties that they took in the story, while they completely changed how the book worked, still fit the mood of the book and still made a very good story. So it managed to make its own version of The Coldest City while still being a very good and well put together movie.
I knew right away that we would, like, I knew you would enjoy this movie more than I did. I didn't, I like the movie. But my problems with it aren't necessarily with the movie necessarily, it might be with the genre. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of the spy genre.
And that's
totally I don't like Bond movies. Yep. I don't like spy movies in general, because my biggest problem is, and this is the problem I had with this movie, I like simple things. I'm a structure guy. This movie lost me immediately. It was very difficult to follow. Yeah. But that's not the first time I've had this happen in a spy movie. And I'm like, it doesn't make the movie bad, I was just frustrated because for a lot of the movie I didn't know what was going on and whose side anyone was on, which again, another spy movie trope, who's on whose side? Right. Are they bad, are they good? No, that's the point of the genre, which is I think is also the problem with the genre.
It is a problem that spy stories have. They work way better in text. The last spy movie I remember loving just so dearly was the adaptation of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Yeah, I was thinking about
I
saying this movie.
loved that movie so much, and I read the book. I enjoyed both so much, and this movie reminded me of it so much while being a better James Bond movie than the most recent James Bond movies. At least that's my initial hot take
Of this? I will agree with you 100% on
Yeah,
that.
it's a better James Bond movie.
And I want to
than
get into that in a
Spectre
second,
and
because this is...
Skyfall,
Absolutely.
Having read the book, not that that's necessary, this movie, first of all, stands on its own. I think I would have enjoyed it regardless if I had read the book or not.
That's the thing. Like, not knowing the characters, I loved a lot of the elements of this movie.
It stands on its own so well, and it also does a really good job of not spoon-feeding you, but giving you the appropriate amount of information slowly over time. Even though it's still hard to follow, compared to how the book does it, it actually makes a lot of things very obvious in the beginning, but for a good reason, too. And we'll get into that when we get into spoilers, because obviously double agents, etc., etc.
Obviously. Which they're actually way more subtle about than your typical spy movie. Specifically, I'm going to reference James Bond a lot in these movies.
Yes.
I know you're a huge fan of those movies. I am not.
I love James Bond.
I am not a fan of those movies, but that's not to say they're not good movies.
Most of them are not, actually.
They actually are pretty good movies. I like a couple of them. I want to get to this really quickly. About character. This is always a big thing for me in movies. This is always how I identify in movies, which is why I like Spider-Man so much.
No, exactly.
I like character. And Charlize Theron's character of Lorraine Broughton
Yeah.
is she parallels James Bond almost perfectly, but still they gave her a little bit of a little bit more personality and attitude.
Yes, a little more stank.
I'm gonna say this right now. It's not a hot take. It's just it's the way I feel, and I think it is a fact. James Bond's character is awful and not particularly well thought out.
No, he is exactly that. Yes.
He exists to be the man's man. He exists to fuck, to drink, and to shoot people.
That's
he has no personality, which is what works for him. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. That's the thing. That's what makes him work.
To be fair, we can cut this, but that was how his character was created. Ian Fleming created James Bond as his alter ego before he was getting married, because he was getting cold feet. So he imagined a character that he wanted to be.
No, don't cut that. That's good shit, man.
Okay, yeah, I'll keep it in. So Ian Fleming created James Bond because he wanted to create somebody who he wanted to be, somebody that all women wanted to be with and all men wanted to be.
But think about that from a film perspective. That works too, because films are about escapism. We want to have a character. Indiana Jones is another good example. He's particularly shallow, hollow character, but we all want to be him or fuck him. Or both.
The groundwork for this movie is there are two agents from England in Berlin. One is named James Gascoigne, and the other one is David Percival.
Which I love that name.
It's an amazing name.
The whole name Percival was because they said that name probably the most, I think, in the entire movie. Percival.
So the story starts with James Gascoigne being killed in Berlin. So of course England is immediately interested in what's going on in Berlin. They need to send another agent to help figure things out, sort things out, because David Percival is supposed to be the man in charge.
He's their contact.
Yeah, so they're like, what the fuck? Yeah. Gascoigne is dead, so they send Lorraine, go figure this out. So her motivation is to figure out the situation. And Percival arrives, and he's gone a bit feral. And James McAvoy...
we know that, but we don't know that. Like, they like to illustrate how fucking into the scene he is.
Yes, and he starts in East Berlin, which is interesting because you could barely cross the Berlin Wall without paperwork, without telling people
you
where
needed
you
a
were.
reason to be there.
Yeah.
You couldn't just go on a vacation.
Percival is this guy who just walks over there all the fucking time and, like, gives people alcohol in exchange for information. And James McAvoy did an amazing job in this performance.
He really did.
I was so happy to see him. Like,
he sold me on that part.
I can't. I'm almost excited that the X-Men movies are kind of like over now because he's such a good actor. Man.
He is really great, and I liked him as Professor X, but it was really refreshing to see him in a role like this.
In like an original role.
If we want to talk real quick about the fucking fight scenes, the fight choreography in this movie was flawless.
I do want to touch on that. I want to say a little shame on Hollywood a bit for how they advertise this movie. This is not a sexy action shoot 'em up. But it does a good job to satisfy that though. But that's not the whole movie.
No, it's not the movie.
So don't go into it expecting that it's gonna be this big shoot 'em up, but do expect realistic action. And again, the choreography was great, and I think one of the best things this movie does is realistic pain from the characters.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She fucking got the fuck beat out of
Everybody got so beat up.
And everyone, you could like there were scenes where they're tussling and they want to kill each other. They physically can't.
Yeah.
They're catching their breath and they're trying to stand up, and you know they want to kill. Like if any one of them had the strength, they would kill them in a second.
Right.
And you believe that.
Yep.
But they physically can't. They're just like
so. Right, like it's almost comedic because they're like flopping around. So you contrast that. Yeah.
And you're like, but you're not laughing. You're just like,
right, like holy shit.
Come on, girl. Do it, girl. You can't do that.
But then you contrast that with a movie like The Mummy, where characters get the shit kicked out of them, and then they just get up, and brush themselves off. What this movie has a lot of that you can cut through that the book does not is so much time-specific culture that really places you into the scene. So this movie is based in 1989 Berlin.
Yes, let's talk about that for 2 seconds. This is a period piece.
It's
a heavy period piece.
They put in terms of scenery, in terms of clothing, in terms of music, in terms of technology, in terms of like literature,
style,
everything.
Art style. Look, the neon shit was prevalent throughout.
Everything is so 1989 Cold War.
Oh, no, 89 specifically, yes. Setting it in Berlin was fucking brilliant.
And you lose a lot of that in the book. There's a moment when Lorraine is in East Berlin and she's running away. She knows she's being followed by Russian agents, basically. So she hides in a movie theater.
That's right. I remember
the movie that is playing is the film Stalker by Andrei Tarkovsky. Mm-hmm. That movie is about a post-apocalyptic zone that you need to hire somebody to walk you through, which is literally an allegory for East Berlin, if you think about it. So placing her into a scene with that movie is so brilliant. Yeah, exactly. It's one of those moments where you're just like, holy fuck, like they really thought about that.
Yeah, this movie was filled with 80s references, specifically the music. I mean, they were constantly throwing that music at you.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I don't, obviously being born in 93, don't know, I'm not an expert on 80s music, but I know
more than I do.
I know for a fact that, like in the trailer, Blue Monday by New Order was in there, and then they had Health do a cover of Blue Monday by New Order, and that cover wasn't very good, and it was actually kind of weird that they included the Health cover in the movie because Health is a current day band, but it's in the 1980s.
I feel like this movie also had like 2 versions of 99 Balloons.
No,
there was like
several different versions.
There were several versions of 99 Loop Balloons.
Yeah, in English and in German.
And in German,
had, like,
and then like a remix version.
But then also very like German specific songs that we might not have recognized that had an 80s feel to it.
What? Wait, what? Did you do that? This movie had a lot of 80s music in it.
Yeah.
To the point where I was getting very annoyed by it. Look, I get it. It's the 80s. Shut the fuck up about it already. Every 2 seconds they finish an 80s song and go immediately into a new one.
Like I was saying
loudly.
I'm praising this movie for its culture. It did choke you a little bit with the music.
A little much.
A little bit too much, but I mean, and again, they had Health, which is a band that I really enjoy, do a cover of New Order's Blue Monday, and it's really not a good cover at all, and they do put it in this movie, which is, it kind of took me out of it. Like, the scene where they played that song, I was like, why would you put...
Because it was more a modern
It was
take.
modern, and most of the music was diegetic, where you're hearing it over a radio.
I thought of you, and that word the whole movie was like, most of the music is diegetic. All the characters are listening to it. It's really good.
And I'm glad
I tightened my tie and adjusted my sock suspenders.
You finish your think piece for Vice and then email it away. So I want to get back to, let's just say spoilers for the case of saying spoilers.
Before we do,
yes,
watch it.
Yeah, please go see it.
I definitely think it's worth your time. It's just cool.
Yeah.
If anything, if you're confused, just sit it out.
Yeah.
It's worth the wait. It's fucking cool.
If you don't get it, that's fine. Give it a chance.
It's the moment it ended, I was like, I want to watch this again. Yeah. Because I want to get it.
So that being said,
spoilers.
So one of the big twists at the end of the book is you find out that Percival was betraying the MI6 the entire time. In this movie, it's kind of obvious from the beginning.
I was sitting with my friend and I'm like, I feel like Percival's satchel. But that seems really obvious.
Right, yeah.
Like, really obvious. But I'm not paying attention.
They definitely made it obvious on purpose. Because
I
feel like that was an element. Yeah, that was an element.
We find out, of course, that he's not sexual.
It was difficult to hide. and it actually added to the story to know that he was betraying Lorraine and he was betraying the MI6.
Well, they made that prevalent, like, or even early on, like the
Very
whole movie.
on.
In fact, what annoyed me the most was how often she just put up with it.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, at a certain point,
But
why
again,
is she still hooking up with this dude?
That's for a reason.
She's
later on,
playing him the way that he's playing her.
So this movie takes the twist of the book, and like I said earlier, it has creative liberty over it to make another good story, which is why I respect this movie so much for making Percival's betrayal so obvious, but still making it so tense, not being like, well, obviously he's the bad guy. Because he literally shoots this guy named Spyglass who has a list
in the middle of the crowd, which of course there's the
snipers that Percival is working with to kill Spyglass,
and he's the one who shot him.
And Percival ends up shooting Spyglass. So they end up making it. They give the character more agency in that way, where you actually feel what these characters are feeling, where Percival's like, wait, Lorraine's fucking up my plan, I'm gonna fuck up her plan, everything's gonna go awry. Also, likewise, the big difference in the book, the French operative is a male. The only female character is Lorraine in the books, and this movie did a good job of actually introducing more female characters.
I'm so glad the French operative was a female. After The Mummy, Sophia Boutella has... She's my favorite.
She's won your heart.
She is. She plays such an endearing character in this movie.
Yeah.
And she plays it well. Like, cause I'm almost like, yeah, I bet she's fucking double crossing her, you know. But you're like, no, she's a green agent from France, and it was endearing, and I liked having that bit of heart in the movie.
Because at first, like, Lorraine is hooking up with Delphine for reasons of getting information.
And she says it. She's when they do that thing where he's like they do the match cut.
Yeah.
Where he's just like.
So you made contact with the French operative?
Obviously.
Right, yeah.
But she says, like, only for information. Yeah. I was only getting for information,
Yeah.
but it's clear, and that was one of the few nuances of character that we got from Lorraine, where you're like, I do believe she has feelings for this person.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fucking beautiful, man.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. It was really nice to have that element of vulnerability.
All I know is I'm super glad this movie exists. I was expecting for it to be bad.
I was expecting for it to be amazing. So I think we both normalized there.
Yeah.
We both normalized there. I was like,
whoa. Having read the book, I was expecting for it to be very mediocre, but they honestly surpassed my expectations. Maybe it was good for that reason, but I honestly want to refute that and say it was good because they just did a good job. They did a great job writing it. The acting was amazing.
They didn't pull any punches. This is about film. And in a film, you do what you want and you say what you want.
Exactly.
And this film does that. And they don't pull their fucking punches, and it is really refreshing to see that.
Yes, I think refreshing is a good point for
You're
me.
like, yes, they did what they fucking wanted to do. They weren't worried about what the executives would think or what the audience was going to think. Who gives a fuck? It's a good film.
Exactly.
And they're honest, man.
Yeah.
And I think it was cool.
So I think for the quadruple time, please go see it. And I will recommend reading The Coldest City. I think you don't have to. This movie again stands on its own extremely well, but I think if you want some supplemental material, this is a very enjoyable story, very different, but you're going to get a different idea of the storytelling elements, and I think you'll appreciate the movie just a tad bit more having read the source material. And I'm such a sucker for source material, so I'm always that.
No, it is refreshing at least from a perspective to talk about. You know, so thank you for watching Book Store Brews.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, we were awful.
Pre-order the next issue of Sticky Boy Dance Party.
I really would want you to make more because that's really funny. I want to see more of those.
Yeah.
So we only did 3 movies this month, but we probably had more to say about these 3 movies than we have in several months prior. So how do we choose a favorite this month? Well, I know you only liked 1 movie this month.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes it a little easier for you.
I love Atomic Blonde, and obviously it's very obvious what I would choose. I mean, we could argue all day, and I could always come to a compromise. But at the end of the day, I would have to pick Atomic Blonde as the best for the month. Granted, we did not see Dunkirk.
I really wish we had seen Dunkirk. We were trying something new this month,
we wanted to shorten it.
We wanted to shorten it. It didn't work.
And we ended up talking way too much
because the movies this month were very complicated.
But they were complicated and interesting. And
I enjoyed
really,
everything I saw in a way, like as bad as Valerian was. I like seeing shitty movies like
Right,
that
I'm
because
glad I
there's
saw
more.
it.
It gives me a reason to complain.
Yeah, I'm glad I saw Valerian. I'm glad I saw Spider-Man, and I'm very glad I saw Atomic Blonde.
Yeah,
so I'm
was
really happy with what we talked
a lot of
about
fun.
this month, and I think it's important, especially that we talked about Atomic Blonde, because I feel like it's going to be pretty underrated.
Unfortunately.
So, what are we gonna do in terms of a favorite?
Well, look, I know I walked in expecting us to pick Spider-Man. Admittedly, I was like, I'm surprised that I thought it was perfect. I love that movie. But I also I just even it being fresh in my mind too. It helps. But the grittiness and darkness and beautiful nature of Atomic Blonde is still fresh in my mind, and I loved it. The vote has to go both ways. So if you look at it this way, if I give 100% for Spider-Man, you give 0% for Spider-Man, and you give 100% for Atomic Blonde, and I give about 70%, 75% to Atomic Blonde. Atomic Blonde has a ticket. So if we're talking about compromise, if you're adding up percentages between the two of us, the trophy probably has to go to Atomic Blonde.
Are you sure about that?
I think I am.
So I guess that being said, Atomic Blonde wins.
Atomic Blonde was easily one of the most interesting movies I've seen in a long time, and I don't mind at all having it give the trophy.
Very well then. Now it's time to reveal the trophy.
All right, Snickerdoodle.
I've been really excited about this all month. I have the trophy in my back pocket right here.
You what? You have a fidget spinner.
Not just any fidget spinner. I need you to take this and tell me what you see on the top of that.
Oh my God! It's Valerian.
I have in my pocket, in my possession, a Valerian themed fidget spinner.
This is we're gonna zoom in on that on my little camera here. That's a Valerian V.
That's a Valerian V.
Where did you find this? How was this made? No, wait. You know what? This actually sums up the movie perfectly.
Yes.
This was made for teenagers. Also, Valerian is made for teenagers.
Yeah.
How do you use the? What do you do?
You literally just spin it, and then it
that?
just perpetually moves.
It perpetually makes me mad.
It's not a successful fidget toy in the slightest. I'm so happy I own this thing. But yes, Atomic Blonde, you win the Valerian themed fidget spinner that I'm so happy I own.
Which is probably the best use for this.
Exactly.
In our existence.
So that's
I'll let
July.
you take care of that.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much for watching. We know we rambled a little bit this month. This was a lot of fun. I'll be honest. I like this month a lot. We only did 3 movies,
a really great month.
but there was so much to talk about, and that's what I love about the show. I don't want to just review movies. I want to bitch about movies.
Yeah.
And we fucking did it.
We did it.
Man. It was
For
awesome.
the first month in a while, I think.
It felt very, very refreshing. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.
Please comment as well. If you disagree with us, let us know. If you agree with us, let us know.
Of course you disagree with us. Somebody please tell us how much we suck.
Especially me with Spider-Man. I would love to talk to more people about Spider-Man. Just let us know.
We'd like to read your comments. We're not going to respond.
Yeah, well, I might, but...
Thanks again for watching, and cheers.
Thanks so much. Cheers.
At the end,
You gotta, I don't know how they do it. They, put it on the table, and then they, blow a vape into it. And,
of course they do. Jesus Christ, with their fedoras on.
Yeah, and they, oh, fuck.